The Ford Territory is one of those cars that has truly grabbed my interest, especially when its second-gen model was unveiled in 2023. And the one that we have today is the 2024 Ford Territory Titanium X. It's handsome and it has that striking appeal when you see it on the road. And upon closer inspection, I have discovered a lot of things about the Ford Territory that I truly liked. And some that might need a little improvement, well, at least in my opinion. But overall, the Territory is quite a unique car, and now I understand why it's becoming increasingly more popular in the Philippines. And I'd like to take you with me for a ride as I take this car to a proper review. But before that, I'd like to thank Ryan Autodeal for allowing me to take this car for a spin. And if you guys are looking to buy a high-quality used car, Ryan Autodeal is the place to be. This Ford Territory is available at their dealership. And if you want to get a good price, simply use our code AUTOTUNE MEDIA so they'll know that you watched the video. I'll leave their details in the description below. Let's get started. The Ford Territory is classified as a compact crossover, which implies that it's supposed to be smaller. But when you look at it, this car is pretty huge. It's about 30 centimeters shorter than the Ford Everest, but it's definitely wider. Perhaps that's the reason why this car has such a strong presence when you see it on the road. We're now looking at the exterior of the 2024 Ford Territory Titanium X. This one has a lot of creature comforts and features that you will really appreciate. And perhaps those things explain why there are a lot of Ford Territories nowadays. As you can see, the Ford Territory has a very wide stance, and the grille of the Ford Territory is actually very huge, especially when looking at it proportionately with the entirety of its front fascia. It also has a very unique light setup, because usually in cars the headlights are located here and the fog lamps and signal lights will be here. But the Ford Territory has things inversed. So in here you have your daytime running lights, and these three individual lights here also double as hazard lights and signal lights. And when you look below it, this is your low beam and high beam for the headlight. Looking closely at the bumper of the Ford Territory, you can see that it is surrounded by sensors. So it has 4 sensors at the bumper, and it even has a sensor at the wheel well over here. The front bumper just below the headlight has this glossy black plastic garnish that accentuates the curves of the bumper. For its lower lip, it has this silver metallic garnish. And you know, when you look at the Ford Territory, either from the front or from the back, it's actually very wide. And although it is classified as a subcompact crossover, this one is actually a little wider than the Ford Everest. And since it's just a 5-seater, it's about 30 centimeters shorter than the Ford Everest. But this car isn't really small. So let's move closer to the side of the Ford Territory, and let's first talk about its wheels. So this car has 19-inch wheels, and wrapped around those wheels are 235/50 R19 highway terrain tires. Surrounding its wheels are these plastic arches, which kinda adds a two-tone effect. Above that black plastic trim sits a metallic gray plastic trim similar to that of the front bumper. And by the way, the Ford Territory comes with disc brakes on all its 4 wheels. And adding elegance to the Ford Territory are these chrome strips that you can see here, which starts from the front door all the way to the rear, extending to the C-pillar, all the way to the back. When you look at it from the top, it has some sport railings that you can use to attach a rack for when you're carrying more luggage than
could be contained inside the car. From the back, the Ford Territory also has that huge silhouette similar from what you can see when you're looking at it at the front. It also has a very interesting taillight design which kind of looks like the Ford Everest, a little bit similar to that, but it's still unique on its own. And when you're using the signal lights of the Ford Territory, these signal lights are actually sequential. So they just don't blink at once. Instead, you'll see light traveling from here all the way here repetitively, as long as your signal lights or your hazard lights are activated. Of course, you have your Titanium X badge and the Ford Territory brand proudly stated at the back. Similar to the front bumper, it also has a combination of the black plastic trim and this metallic plastic garnish as well. It also has a rear view camera, which also doubles as a camera for when you activate the 360 cameras of the Ford Territory. And also similar at the front bumper, you also get more sensors at the side of the car. All four doors of this Ford Territory have these chrome door handles. And when you look closer to its door handles at the front passengers, you get this button because this car gets a keyless entry. And when you look at the side mirror, you also get a camera here for the 360 camera feature.
Its interior is where this car shows where your money goes when you buy a Ford Territory. It's packed with a lot of properly conceived features, and for a high-tech car, it manages to hide its complicated features in one neat package. Just look at how clean the dashboard is. And the seats? Perfection. Thick leather seat covers and spacious interior. This car begs to be driven on long trips.
And now let's move inside the Ford Territory to explore its interior features. And when you open that door, you'll be greeted by this nicely designed interior. So I think it's a combination of, modern design. Although feature-packed as it may be, the designers of this car actually tried to declutter the car. So as you can see, the dashboard is very simple, and the only thing that's in the dashboard is this long LCD panel. All doors of the Ford Territory has this nice looking, clean, a combination of classic and modern design. So you have your cream color at this plastic panel, as well as this faux leather panel. You have dark gray soft material faux leather, and you even have a wooden trim, which you can also see on the inside of the Ford Territory, sitting just right below its dashboard. All 5 seats of the Ford Territory come with a nice two-tone leather seat covers. The dominant color of these seat covers is this cream color, and adding contrast to it is a dark gray leather. Its center storage also come with this nice cream color. And these seats are actually very soft, and the leather seat covers in here are very thick as well. So with this type of material, I'm sure that this will last a very long time without needing to replace. I'm sure that stains will be very visible in here, so you just have to be careful when you have a light-colored leather interior. The driver's seat of the Ford Territory comes with these automatic switches, so you can use these switches to move the backrest of the seat, to elevate the front of the seat, and even to elevate the entire seat. You also have this button to activate more seat customizations at the middle of the backrest, so you have more back support for when you're driving, especially during long trips. And for your reference, I am 5'9", and this is my sitting position. And when you go to the second row seats, you have more than enough legroom to sit a taller passenger. You can really maximize the 5-seater capacity of this car with all your passengers plus the driver sitting comfortably in the car while driving. And now let's check the rear storage of the Ford Territory, and look at that amount of space available for you here. The Ford Territory is a very nice weekend car because even if you're traveling as a family, you get more than enough luggage space over here to pack all your things for a weekend getaway. And to close the rear door of the Ford Territory, you just have to press this button and it will automatically close the door. Very convenient, isn't it? And now let's step inside to know more about its interior features. And we're now inside the Ford Territory, and immediately this steering wheel caught my attention because it's actually a beautifully designed steering wheel. I like that there is a flat bottom over here, which kind of makes me feel that this car could be a very sporty car to drive. I like the texture of this faux leather steering wheel cover, as well as this tiny button for the horn of the car. When you look at the left side of the steering wheel, you get controls for your lane keep, cruise control, and more functions over here. And when you look at the right side of the steering wheel controls of the Ford Territory, you get more controls over here as well. But what's actually very interesting in the Ford Territory, which I already mentioned a while ago, is this very clean design of the dashboard. This is supposed to be a futuristic looking car, right? But at the same time, I appreciate that they made an effort to tidy it up and to make it very simple to look at. I mean, honestly, nowadays when you're looking at modern cars, all the buttons, all the nifty features on those cars can easily overwhelm you, especially when you're not used to driving a very futuristic car. I mean, this is a very techy car, and as you can see, it has wireless Apple CarPlay and my phone is connected to it. But even though it packs a lot of techy features, it doesn't overwhelm your eyes when you first look at it. And instead, you just get access to those nifty features when you're very intentional about accessing them. This screen, or the center of the infotainment system, is what you use for navigating all the settings in the car, such as interior features, some settings for door locks and everything. And seamlessly connected to it is the driver dashboard, which simply displays the speed of the car and the RPM of the car. Below the infotainment system, you have your streamlined infotainment system over here, sitting on top of this faux wood panel. It's very harmonious when you look at it because the connection is very seamless, right? So there's your aircon over there, there's a wooden panel connecting all the way there. And here, at this very clean spot, lies your start and stop button. And below that beautiful wooden panel, you get your tactile controls for the air conditioning and for your hazard lights. And although these are LED sensors, there's a very tactile feel to them whenever you press any of these buttons. So for example, I want to increase the fan speed. There's a slight vibration that you can hear and feel, knowing that the sensor has responded to your command. Below these controls, you have a storage, but this storage space also has a wireless charger for your smartphone. It looks very busy down here, but upon looking at the buttons, they're actually very easy to comprehend. So immediately you will identify that this is your transmission knob. So when you switch from park to reverse, all you have to do is twist that knob and the 360 cameras will be automatically activated. So you have your rear camera over here, and you also have a top view of your car. Below the shift knob are more buttons that you can use to control the infotainment system over there. So you have your phone button, your music button, back button, and the call button. And the one in here is for the volume. And as you can see, it has a tiny switch here for the electronic brake. When you press this panel, it reveals some cup holders, and for the center storage, you have this very huge space over here. I mean, look at how huge it is. I think half of my arm can fit in it. But one feature that I really like about the Ford Territory is that it comes with a sunroof. You simply have to toggle this button to open or close your sunroof. So now let's try to close the sunroof, and there you have it. But if you want more natural light inside your car when you're driving, just leave it open. You can even lift the window in here ever so slightly to let more natural air inside the car. And lastly, at the rear passenger, you get to enjoy more aircon vents here, as well as a USB charger here. I mean, I'd like to emphasize how spacious this car is. Look at the legroom that I still have. You can actually sit larger passengers here and they won't have a hard time fitting in your car. And there you have it. We're now done talking about the interior features of the Ford Territory. Let's now take this car for a spin to experience how it drives, how its engine performs, and to know more about its driving dynamics.
The Ford Territory's 1.5-liter turbo gasoline engine is a peppy one. I like how eager the engine is when you rev it. However, for a car of this size, I find the power and torque a bit wanting. The engine is willing to make an effort, but because of its hefty size and small displacement, its limits immediately show when you push it harder. For me, a larger engine, perhaps a 2-liter turbo gasoline engine, will make this car more exhilarating to drive.
And we're now inside the 2024 Ford Territory Titanium X. And first, let's talk about its engine. This car comes with a 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline engine. And small as it may seem when looking at it from the brochure, I can say that even for the huge size of this car, the 1.5-liter engine has enough power and torque to propel this car from a standstill all the way to higher speeds. I mean, the engine is very eager to drive at a higher speed, and of course, naturally, it's a gasoline engine. It's very happy to rev at higher RPM. And although the 1.5-liter turbocharged gasoline is very peppy, it's very eager to lunge forward whenever you press the gas pedal, I won't say that it's mind-blowingly fast, because after all, the small engine and its turbocharger cannot compensate for the lack of displacement. Even at that, I won't say that the engine is lacking. A bigger engine, perhaps a 2-liter gasoline engine, would make this car feel more alive than it really is now. But since it has only a 1.5-liter, I think for the intended purpose of this car, which is to be used as a mode of transportation, perhaps in the city or for weekend getaways, the 1.5-liter has enough power to carry 5 passengers inside the car. And as you can remember in our interior feature exploration a while ago, the shifting knob has an L at the middle, right? So upon driving the car, I discovered that that L at the center of the shift knob is actually for low range. So for you to access the functionality of that low range, you have to put the car in drive mode and you press that low range button, and the car, similar to 4x4 cars, will have more torque available way below the rev range. And I think that can be very useful when you're driving uphill, such as when you're in Baguio, because when you really explore the insides of Baguio, you can get easily surprised because there are so many hidden streets inside Baguio that are very steep. With a vehicle of this size, with a small engine, even if it's turbocharged, it will definitely have difficulties climbing steep hills. This is actually a very smart design because the addition of a low range option will make driving easier. And going back to its engine, I also noticed that the throttle response of this car, for me, at least in my opinion, needs a little improvement. I like a car that has a responsive throttle pedal, but the Ford Territory has a half-second throttle delay when you press the gas pedal. I think it's how the throttle is tuned, because when you rev the engine, I think the engine is aggressively tuned. And when you add an aggressively tuned throttle pedal with an aggressively tuned engine, it's very easy to lose control of the car. So I think the tuning of the throttle pedal, although there is a slight delay in responsiveness to my liking, it's one of the safety features added in this car. The Ford Territory, you have to press the gas pedal or you have to wait for the car to feed some gasoline into its engine for it to move forward. So that's one distinct characteristic in this car that you will immediately feel as soon as you get your hands on it. Be that as it may, I think it's very easy to familiarize yourself as regards that throttle pedal and engine tuning of this car. And once you get the hang of it, It's very easy to drive. Although the car is wider than a mid-size SUV such as the Everest, it's not actually hard to estimate how huge the car is when you're actually driving it. I think the engine has enough power. It needs a little bit more torque to my liking, or perhaps that's just me talking from my experience, mainly driving a turbocharged diesel engine, because diesels are, naturally torqueier than gasoline engines. But as I mentioned a while ago, a bigger 2-liter gasoline engine would have been nicer in this car.
I'll admit it, driving the Ford Territory is such an effortless experience. The transmission is definitely its highlight. You won't feel it shifting. It's buttery smooth. Normally, I would look for paddle shifters, but in this car, I'm okay with the lack of it. The transmission in the Ford Territory is something that you just leave on full auto, so you can enjoy and savor the pleasant ride that this car has.
And now let's move on to its transmission. So this car comes with an automatic transmission that has 7 gears. I have nothing to complain about the transmission of this car. It actually shifts very smoothly. You won't even notice the car shifting. And if there's one thing that would have been nicer if added in this car, is the option of putting it in manual mode, because I don't see any switches or toggle switches here to put the car in manual mode. And perhaps that's also the reason why they added the low range feature at the middle of the shift knob, because since there will be no option for a manual transmission in this car, driving uphill could be a challenge, and so there is the low range option. But since you'll be buying an automatic transmission, most of the time you'll spend your driving time with the car mainly slotted in the drive mode, so that's one less thing to worry about. And besides, that's the point of owning an automatic transmission car, the convenience of it, the effortless driving experience of it. And when just simply talking about that, I think the car nails it at that aspect, because the transmission is very smooth. And even though it has a 7-speed automatic transmission, I think the gears are properly spaced out in this car, because whether you drive it smoothly or you drive it aggressively, shifting is smooth. I think that's the highlight of the Ford Territory, its transmission.
The Territory comes with disc brakes on all its wheels, so there's no question as regards its stopping power. The plush ride, courtesy of its 19-inch wheels and well-tuned suspension, is also one of those things that make this car shine. However, I cannot fully compliment its handling. There's something amiss about it. It feels vague to my liking. And even though the ride is a pleasure to experience, the vague handling kinda breaks the deal for me.
And lastly, let's talk about the handling, the suspension, and the braking of the Ford Territory. First, let's talk about its braking performance. The Ford Territory comes with 4 disc brakes on all its wheels, and so it has a very responsive braking performance. There is enough stopping power in this car. If there's one thing that I can complain about the braking of the Ford Territory, is the sensation of the braking pedal, because the initial bite of the Ford Territory's braking is very high. I mean, I can't find a comfortable spot for my foot when pressing the brake pedal in the Ford Territory, because primarily the brake pedal is too high for me, and I already have huge feet. People with smaller feet will have a hard time adjusting to the positioning of the brake pedal of the Ford Territory. It's positioned too high to my liking, and the biting point is too high as well. And if you've watched my previous videos, I like cars with high initial biting point in their braking, because it will be very easy to modulate the car. I think the Ford Territory might have overdone it in terms of the brake pedal feel. But in terms of stopping power, the stopping power is more than enough for the car. And now let's move to the suspension. And I can say that the suspension of the Ford Territory is actually very well designed. It's a subcompact crossover, and so it sits lower on the ground. But since it has a monocoque body, which means it doesn't sit on a ladder frame, you would expect that it has a better ride. And yeah, it really has a good ride, if not better, than most SUVs nowadays. Minor road imperfections cannot be felt in this car. Of course, it has bigger wheels, and so that contributes to the comfort of the car. And when you're just simply driving on heavy traffic like this or going on a straight line, you will feel the nicely tuned dampening in the Ford Territory. And lastly, let's talk about its handling. And I think the handling is also one of the things where the Ford Territory fell a little bit short. The steering wheel of this car is very light. Since it has a lighter steering wheel, it means that you'll have less fatigue in driving it. But I think it feels a little vague for me. It's responsive, yes, but for some reason, I cannot describe if it's sharp or it lacks sharpness to it. And that's why for me it's a little bit vague. It's a little harder to understand in terms of the responsiveness of its steering wheel to every input that you exert on the car. And you can also feel the vagueness in the steering wheel of the Ford Territory even when driving at a lower speed, and more so when you're driving it at a higher speed. And you know, when driving on a straight line and you simply flick the steering wheel from left to right, you will feel that there is a very slight body roll to it. With all those things considered, I can say that the handling of the Ford Territory is sharp. To me personally, it feels a bit vague, but when you're driving it on the road, it feels planted. I don't know what happened or where things got mixed up. And lastly, let's talk about its driving dynamics. And you know, driving dynamics is a combination of a lot of factors when driving a car. The thing that I like in the driving dynamic of the Ford Territory is its peppy engine, as well as the transmission. The transmission of this car, well designed, very smooth. The comfort inside the car, especially the driver's seat, is top notch as well because of the 10-way adjustable driver's seat. So you can really tailor how the driver's seat is formed to suit your preferences on how your seat could be when driving. And in terms of handling, for me, the Ford Territory could use a little bit of improvement. And so there's the suspension and the braking as well. If I don't know if there's an option to lower down the brake pedal slightly, but the way it's positioned right now in its stock form, I think the brake pedal could use a bit of improvement as well. With everything said, I'm not saying that the Ford Territory is a horrible car. I'm just saying that, you know, some minor tweaks to it could actually elevate or enhance how the car feels, how the car drives, and that would probably make people appreciate this car more.
I had a pleasant overall experience with the Ford Territory, except for the vague handling and the brake pedal that's positioned a little too high for me. Perhaps the main selling point of it is not its power or handling. It could be its spacious and upscale interior and more of its features. With that in mind, I can see that this car targets a younger market that can maximize the tech that's in it. Or maybe those who are young at heart and want a youthful looking car. And of course, those who can still keep up with the evolutions in automotive high-tech features. And now I can see why the Ford Territory is popular. It just makes sense. This has been Enzo from AUTOTUNE. Till next time.